Hello again. The last video left off with me talking about this document, okay? And I wanted to make a separate video specifically for the details of the project that you guys are going to be creating. I apologize, there is a squirrel outside, and so my dogs are barking. This is just my life now. Instead of children yelling, it's dogs barking and babies crying. But I digress. Okay, so remember you can access it here from this syllabus and schedule that we went over in the last video, or you can also pull it up underneath the choice unit, the pink folder, and it is this right here. Okay. So first things first, make sure that you make a copy of this. You guys only have viewing rights, so make a copy. Voila. And I suggest when you make a copy, you just replace copy of with your name, right? So that when you finally share it with me, I know whose it is, okay? So please do that. And then here are the table of contents, okay? So if you would rather recreate these documents in your notes, that's fine, but just know that eventually you're going to be turning them into me, so it's just way easier to type them rather than like take a picture of the ones that you've written. But that is totally an option if that's what you would prefer to do. Here is the task sheet. Okay, so this is everything that you need to get done. So you're essentially creating a map, right? A literary theme park map. Okay, and there should be a map key where you can show me like where the bathrooms are, what shops are there, where are the rides, are there like sections of your park that are themed, etc., etc. There's going to be a written component as well where you write a 2-sentence explanation. This says summary, but really it's an explanation and justification of each of your rides, shops, and the food court. And that means that there are 2-sentence summaries for each component. Okay, that's pretty short. The park layout must reflect the setting of the novel or the story or the text that you've chosen. So let's say that you picked In Cold Blood, and that is about a murder that takes place in Kansas. So like your theme park should probably take place in Kansas, but where in Kansas? Depends on significant settings that are present in the text, right? And you might even say like, okay, like this is the rural themed part of my park, and then this is the urban themed part of my park, and that's why each of them it's Kansas and it's In Cold Blood themed, but there are different areas, right? It's up to you. You can be very creative. Are there mountains? Is it urban? Is it rural or agricultural? Are there woods and rivers, or I don't know, buildings? Is it like super industrial looking? Is it futuristic because you chose a sci-fi? That one might be kind of fun. Okay. Rides, shows, and games, of which there should be 5. So these attractions must be related to the adventures and thrills or conflicts found in the story and reflect the plot. And when we talk about plot, we're talking about that plot diagram, right? So exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. We're going to get to that. Basically, as you're reading, you're going to be filling out a plot diagram. She calls it a plot mountain chart, but it's a plot diagram. And turn those events into rides. Okay. Characterization shops. So your shops that you include, the souvenir shops, there should be 2. Sell objects, items, symbols, things that are found in the story. So let's say, for example, you were doing Catcher in the Rye. Holden's hat would be one that you would sell, right? Obviously, you're not doing Catcher in the Rye because that was the building's Roman unit, but that's an example. If you did Secret Life of Bees, obviously like honey and like bees are going to show up in there, okay? Food court, let's say you're doing Secret Life of Bees, you're going to sell a lot of things with honey, right? Or peaches, because those are in the text. If you chose, let's see, like Huck Finn, for food court, you might choose things that were commonly eaten in the story. So I think there's like one where they're eating like an oatmeal or like a gruel. So that one would be one you would say. Or here's another example. So let's say you pick like a zombie apocalypse book, and they eat brains in that zombie apocalypse book. So perhaps there's like things that are themed after brains. Okay, ideally not actual brains, because like this is like supposed to be a real park where people go to. Okay, so and then bathrooms and first aid. Okay, like maybe there's people in your park who have broken legs, just like Finney from A Separate Peace, right? He gets hurt, so maybe you have a first aid for people just like that, okay? And these are some examples of the maps that you might see for other theme parks, so this gives you a good indication of what they could look like, okay? These are obviously like very well done because like they're digital graphic designers and cartographers, but this gives you a starting place, okay? This is the plot diagram, okay, and here are the instructions for that. Make sure that you are filling this out before you start anything. So this is step 1. As you are reading and before you start planning your park on the project outline, you need to be starting on this plot diagram. Okay, so let's say you've read chapters 1 through 5, and that covers the exposition and the inciting element. You're going to fill that out, jot down some events in the text that are happening during those moments according to your interpretation, and then and only then can you move on to filling out this same part here. Okay, so you're kind of this is where you take notes on the text. This is where you start interpreting those events from the text and turning them into a theme park. Okay. Both of these things are going to be turned into me. So you can fill out this plot diagram by printing it out, drawing it in your notebook, or sort of recreating this digitally using a Google Draw or something like that. It's up to you. By the end of it, this is for your notes. I don't need this back. But what I do need is the outline. Okay, so this is the part that I recommend being digital. You do not start filling this out until you've started your plot diagram, and then you kind of go back and forth. So like I said, you won't be able to fill out this resolution part until you finish the book. Okay, so that means that you got to finish the book with enough time to go back through here, pick your ride that goes with this component, okay? Resolution. These are the 5 that you're allowed to, or that you're required to do based on the plot. Okay. So step 1, or step 2, task 1, the introduction. What is your park based on? Okay, so like we said for like Secret Life of Bees, what is your theme going to be? Okay. Describe the setting, layout, and theme of the park based on your theme and understanding of the text. And remember that you're using elements from your chosen text to come up with these. You're not just pulling the ideas out of thin air. They've got to be connected to the text. And then this is where you would include a brief explanation or justification of your creative choices here. Say, this is the theme that I'm choosing, and this is why. So let's say you picked Secret Life of Bees, and one of the components you want to include is the sort of coming of age and the role of like a strong feminine and maternal presence in your life. So maybe all of your rides are going to have themes related to the sisters, the calendar sisters, and the sort of character traits that they have. Okay, so sorry I had to pause it to give Finn his bottle. So I left off talking about the introduction, right? So we were talking about how if we chose Secret Life of Bees, we might choose the concept of femininity and motherhood as one of the concepts, and then think about what the theme is based on those things, and then kind of create the premise of our park accordingly. So for example, we might say one of the key concepts in the Secret Life of Bees is the importance of motherhood and femininity, right? Lily is able to come of age and develop identity after she meet strong women who show her what it looks like to be independent, strong, and intelligent, despite what an abusive society or father figure might do or say, right? And then blah, 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 blah. This is how I would incorporate that into my park. Okay. Task 2, once we've kind of established the overarching theme of our theme park, is rides, shows, and games. And so you're going to do 5 total, 1 exposition, 1 rising action, 1 climax, 1 following action, 1 resolution. Okay, so for the exposition, we talk about Lily Owens in the opening of the novel, because that's the exposition, and we might talk about like where she lives, or like the peach stand, and have a ride or a show or a game that seems similar to that. So maybe it's something about throwing peaches or something like that as a game, right? Same thing for the rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. And this is where you're going to jot down your justification, because remember, there are 2 sentence explanations required for each of these elements, right? So this is where you would just jot down notes in order to prepare for your 2-sentence summary, right? Okay. Task 3 is the shops in the food court, and so remember, if you go back up here, you need at least 2 of those, and there are spots for 3, okay, in case you want to do 3. And this is, again, based on the novel. So, again, if we were doing Secret Life of Bees, we would choose something to do with honey or peaches or bees, and we would also consider some of the food that they eat when Lily's living at the Calendar Sisters' home. If we did Catcher in the Rye, definitely that deer hunter hat would be a huge component, okay? And then the map key. What symbols will you use on your map when you draw it to indicate where things are? Okay, this is consider how your characters might represent these things. So for example, for first date, if you did a separate piece, perhaps the symbol is the broken leg or something from when Finney fell off that tree. That kind of stuff. It should be related to things in the text that you notice that are significant. Okay. And then the last thing is a slogan or jingle for your theme park with a short paragraph that's like 5 to 8 sentences, persuading people to visit, like a brief advertisement, and consider literary elements from your chosen text as you develop this, right? So what's going to draw us to this park? All ages, kids, adults, right? What's going to make us want to come to your park, all right? This particular project assesses a lot of different things. Firstly, it's a way to summarize and master elements of fiction. Okay, exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution, and the inciting element. Okay, even if you choose a nonfiction text, it's going to follow this formula because most of the nonfiction texts I have you choosing from are narrative in structure. Okay, it's going to test your creative thinking, your critical thinking, your reading ability, your writing ability, and your ability to make connections between something that's not related to a text and the text itself. It's going to test your self-guided learning ability, just like the Bildungsroman unit did. And it's going to test your ability essentially to make meaningful real-world connections to the text, okay? It may seem really contrived to create a theme park, but this is kind of what we would call project-based learning. So when you think about some of the amusements parks or places we visit, there are themes related to them, right? So this is like encapsulating a lot of different types of thought and a lot of different skills, and I think it'll be kind of a fun way, rather than writing an essay, for you to show me your understanding of the text, okay? You can do this digitally, so like a digital map, or you can hand draw it, so long as I get it by the end of this year. And hopefully this is clarifying for you. If you have questions, just email me, and that's all I've got for you.